All right. 6:01, we'll call the meeting to order. First item is citizen comments. Do we have any citizens who would like to comment on our committee?
Not at this time.
At this time, we have none. All right, sliding down to agenda items. Let's just go to C1. Discuss water utility rates and conservation strategies.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm Ray Silveras, Director of Public Works. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce, you're seeing a lot of guests here that are not normally here. So I just wanted to introduce myself as Director of Public Works. Maria Minter, who's our Managing Superintendent for Public Works. And then we have a newly titled, Chief of Police here, Kevin McCoy, but he's also the Managing Director and he oversees our department as well. So he's going to be joining us today in this discussion. And we just kind of wanted to discuss with you one of the big topics that's been hitting the city lately. I know there was the joint meeting yesterday with the city council, and you spoke a little bit about, the committee spoke a little bit about the some of the topics or some of the ways to help implement water rebates and some of the programs that we've done in the past. We kind of just want to rehash those and kind of go over what we still have in our arsenal and what we can use it for, and kind of talk a little bit about the background behind the newly implemented water wastewater rates. So that's what I'm going to discuss about here. So the purpose for the water rates is let me start out the reason for it as the utility system goes. So the water wastewater rate supports our enterprise system for the public works utility area. So the water wastewater, it's supported totally by itself, meaning that the prices you pay when you get your water bill, your utility bill, that supports and funds our operations. So it's one of those, it's why it's called enterprise. It's not a general fund like you typically have with when you get the tax properties that support all the city's department. This was focused mainly on the utilities, and the money that comes in through that utility bill funds all of our projects, operations, and administration. So every now and then, 5 years or so, kind of go back, look at the water rates, make sure they're able to support and keep the system going. So it's been a while since the city of Farmers Branch has done, we're almost at 10 years since we've done an increase in the water wastewater rates. And so when you look at, when we did the modeling about a year ago to see where we're at and how we're supporting ourselves, there's what I like to call the three legs of the stool. So you have the administration part, the operation parts, and the CIP part. And basically that's the entire system behind the utility enterprise. The administration part is obviously staff, but it also includes the Dallas Water Utility, where we get our potable water from, that gets delivered to our city and then dispersed out to the town. And then where we send our wastewater is to the Trinity River Authority, TRA. So the wastewater that we get here, we don't treat it. We just collect it through our series of sewer pipes and send it back to the TRA, and they treat those pipes. And for the last 10 years, as everybody's been expecting, those costs of treating water and wastewater has substantially gone up, and everybody's been paying that. For the last 10 years, the city of Farmers Branch has been absorbing that cost. So that's one component that we were looking at. The second component was the operations, make sure that we can fix our pipes, some of our aging infrastructure that's out there. So we have pipes from the 40s, 50s that need to be fixed every now and then, especially as the temperature goes up and down. We have a lot of pipe breaks, so we just got to make sure we have money in there to maintain those systems running well. And then, of course, like I was talking about, the CIP projects, which those are projects that we're expanding, or pipelines that we're expanding, or just simply trying to rehab the old pipes so that we don't have to do so many repairs throughout the year. So those three components are what's taken into consideration when we're doing the modeling. And it helps us to come up with the price of what we expect, how do we expect to sustain the system to make sure that as we continue going forward, that we're covering the cost for the wholesales, which is DWTRA, how we continue paying for the operations of staff to maintain the system that we have and to make sure that we're upgrading pipelines that need to be upgraded. So that's what's taken into consideration into the modeling. And so with that, we did that last summer. We came up with the cost increase to it in order to better support the system moving forward. So we hired a consultant who helped us do that modeling. He kind of looked at what we have currently, where we're trying to be at in 5 years, and all the CIP projects that are in the pipeline. So with that, they came up with the water wastewater rate increase. So again, the reason that we have to look at that is to sustain what we already have in place and make sure as for future generations that we have the infrastructure in place to keep those waters lasting long so that more people, because businesses will not come into your town if you don't have adequate water supply or adequate wastewater to get the water out of it, wastewater. So those are components that create that. And it creates, like everything else that's going up, it does create a little bit of a squeeze on the residents, you know, as the utility bills go up a little bit. I believe this year it was 15% across the board for water, wastewater rates. And so what we are trying to do is incorporate the sustainability committee's help to help us bring some of these rebates programs that we have here, kind of put them back in the front and center, say, hey, there's still opportunities for you to get the irrigation checks and toilet rebates and all the good stuff that we have here involved with the sustainability committee that you guys have come up over the past. We just want to make sure that the public is aware of that. And I know Alex will go over those as soon as I'm done with my brief overview here. But basically, that's what we're trying to do, is trying to make sure that we get the word out as to why we're increasing the water, wastewater rates, what help is available from the city to help sustain those and to make sure that we have irrigations in place that are functioning the way they should be. And one of the things that I forgot to mention also with the water and wastewater rates was we removed the sewer cap. We used to stop measuring sewer after 10,000 gallons. So beyond 10,000 gallons, it didn't matter how much water went down the drain, there was no charge to you. So that's one of the components that was also removed to make sure we're capturing and paying for the infrastructure necessary and for the wholesale client. The reason for that is that the TRA is one of the most expensive contracts that we have because it keeps going. There's a lot of power and energy that's being used to treat wastewater, as you can imagine, the type of treatment it needs. And since we haven't been doing anything for the past 10 years, as far as that goes, it's been substantially well under where we need to be. So that's had to be raised up in a way to recover. But it also serves as another opportunity for us to kind of help with water conservation with the removal of the sewer cap. One is if you realize that you're paying for water, you're going to be thinking a little bit more for the wastewater. You're going to be thinking a little bit more about how to use water wisely, right? And so when we implemented the water wastewater rates, we had a lot of calls come in November about, hey, my wastewater side is higher than it used to be. And mainly it's because some left the irrigation stuff on for watering every day or more than it needs to be. So there are some things that we could do better from the city side to make sure that we get the message out, hey, water doesn't have, or grass doesn't have to be watered so much. And so with the removal of the sewer cap, we're hoping to influence that behavior of how we use water, make sure we're using it wisely. And it's also going to become it is already a growing concern for the region as far as what are we going to do for water 10, 20 years from now? Because, you know, they just built one new lake. They built a Lake Bodark. It's over in northeast of here. And then there's another lake not too far from Lake Bodark, which is west of where it's at. And those are the only two lakes or reservoirs that they're building currently in the state of Texas. And so that's the biggest concern is that what are we going to do 20, 30 years from now when we get a population increase? Where are we going to get this water? How are we going to take care of that? So conservation is key amongst all the utilities out there, all the cities. How do we do that? How do we enforce it? How do we get people to use water wisely to ensure there's enough for the future generations? So again, the contracts, the infrastructure, and the ongoing operation of maintaining this all comes down to why the water wastewater rates were increased to help us sustain that and maintain it. But we do have some tools that we're able to help our residents. And we just want to make sure, based on what you've done in the past, to bring those back up front and center and let them know that, hey, there's some tools here for your advantage to help you maybe get some rebates and also give you some tips on how to, especially for the irrigation system, how to make sure that that's maintained well. Maybe when it's raining, not let it go off. And so there's some sensors that could be put in place. But those are things and ideas we want to work and collaborate with this committee to ensure that we can get that word out. And so with that, Alex, if you want to kind of run over those programs that we have in place to help us.
Yeah, and I think you kind of already talked about the rate changes here. So kind of the first time in 10 years. And so that's kind of putting water conservation front and center for us, which is good from our perspective. On the education awareness, you guys have done a lot of tabling events already with us, promoting our rebates. And, you know, we've done a lot of marketing through the city's social media, print. Water rebates just went out again in January, kind of with this notice. And I know Lauren's not here, but she helped us with that Texan by Nature certificate, and that kind of was our statewide recognition for the water rebate programs, what we've done so far. So you guys have all been active in promoting these and providing awareness and education to the residents. Kind of quick update on where we are with the rebate amounts. So We're up to this, a number actually is up now from when we had to submit the presentation, but we're at 130 toilets or 131 toilets that have been replaced. So it's on an estimated savings of over 1 million gallons annually. The irrigation checkup, we increased that rebate from 50 to 75 to help cover more of the cost for residents and incentivize more participation. That one is the inspection of the system from the licensed irrigator. We had 16 approved applications when I did this. I think we're 16 or 17 as of right now. So those are kind of our two right now. We're covering indoor and outdoor. I know we've had some discussions with the Water Conservation Subcommittee, maybe trying to add another thing. One of the ideas when we were researching some other cities is smart irrigation controllers, finding a rebate or, providing a rebate for that. And so ones that are connected to the internet. So getting the weather data, different things like that. That's something that we can kind of continue to explore. Communications, you guys have done a lot with especially at the events, trying to get the word out on these. And so, yeah, with that, you've got Ray and Public Works staff here. If there's questions on any of the other water conservation items that we've brought up in the past, so.
Well, a couple of things. I've worked in utility for over 10 years, so I understand that the non-revenue water, not just past the meter, there's loss of water for the resident as well as the infrastructure. That the leaks, some of these leaks are not detected. One of the things that we have asked, one of the software that you can get is to how much water you're pumping from the pumping station versus how much you're billing. That'll give you non-revenue water. And that tells you exactly, there are two factors in non-revenue water. One is leak. The other is the air, because you're pumping air as well. So those are two things that you can look at. And once you see how much water you're pumping versus how much you're billing, the fire department tests their system as well. If you remove that, you will see exactly what your non-revenue water loss is.
Right.
Now, with that loss, guess what? The residents are going to pay for the sewer part as well. The other thing that we found is the biggest problems that sewers have is the lift stations, malfunctioning lift station. So I don't know who the consultant you've got, but there are several good consulting companies to look at the infrastructure and basically renewing the infrastructure. The more right now you have, like, I don't know how many pumping station you have. I know you have one on Marshland, right? When you look at those pumping station, if the whole utility industry is moving towards microgrids, not major grids like this, right? So consider some of these things. I know Itron, LNG, I think Census, all these companies bring them up. Invite them to come in and put a presentation together. What efforts can they advise you on getting some more tools for you? For example, one of the tools that you can get for a resident is the intermittent leaks. A lot of leaks you can detect very quickly because your next month bill is going to be high.
Mhm.
But the month water is gone, now the sewer is going to be charged to that. I think Bryce and I have been talking to Alex about getting meters to have the software that can detect intermittent leaks and leaks as well. So those are some of the things that you can, it costs the city money initially, but overall, you'll find that there'll be a lot of savings, and especially for the residents.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that, and I'd be glad to talk to anybody you want, because I have good knowledge, especially on the utility side of things.
Gotcha. I appreciate that, and those are good points. And one thing I did forget to mention, going back to the Itron trip, we do have this meters in place to where you'll be able to have a customer portal interface to see what your consumption is at your home. Right now, they're not converting the volume used correctly. So we're kind of working with IT to make sure that's correct before we launch those out. So that is something that's definitely in the works that will help provide the customer with an ability to kind of check, make sure if there are any leaks or their irrigation is going on a certain amount of time, and they'll be able to detect patterns that can help them minimize that and the leak detections as well.
Right.
Going back to what you said, definitely, we do work with a lot of engineering firms that help us look at our system holistically, and not just for pipelines, but also for lift stations, pump stations, and we do have 2 pump stations, so you're correct about that. The one in Marsh and the one in Wicker is the 2 areas where we receive water from DWU and then disperse it out to the rest of the community.
Right.
I know that sometimes you do see, there's a couple of regulations and stuff like that, where you see some of the public works employees flushing out fire hydrants. I don't know if everybody's seen those, but they're out there doing that. So there's a couple of things. So those, since they're not going through your physical meter, that's not being charged to you, but there are what we do, except every year, we have to put the report together to show this is what we get. Here's the one that makes it to the meters, and here's the ones that typically don't. Fire suppression or fire safety, we have to account for that, and for when we have to discharge water. Now, the reason for discharging water is we're required by law to have a minimum residual, chlorine residual, 0.5 milligrams per liter. So if it ever goes below that, we have to discharge that water, because that means the water's been stagnant and that residual has dropped, and therefore it's no longer safe, so we have to get that water out. So when we detect those, we flush it out to get new water in there. And so that's why sometimes you'll see us flushing, especially in the winter times when people are using less water, so it tends to sit there longer. That's why you'll see that, but again, it's not necessarily evil, I guess you could say, because we can't just let that water be there, because it wouldn't be, for prolonged times, it wouldn't be safe to drink.
Ray, once you find out exactly what your non-revenue water
Mhm.
is, then you'll be able to tell very quickly some of the gaps that you have.
Right.
In your infrastructure, because some of these leaks you can't detect.
Right,
They're underneath like 3-4 feet. You're not gonna be able to detect those.
absolutely, and especially some of our aging infrastructure,
Right.
the water lines that have been there for 50, 60 years also just wear down. And so there is about a 20-year plan that we're working on that we're gonna introduce to council next Tuesday, actually, to show them. We did a study through one of our consultants who shows us all the pipelines that need to be rehabbed, and it's a 20-year plan that we're looking to do for that amount of time. And so therefore, like I was saying, that's one component of why the wastewater rates went up. And so, yes, it is something that has to be done, and so there are ways that the city's trying to help by the rebates and irrigation checks and the smart meters to help the customer make sure that they can keep an eye on the bottom line. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'll definitely take a look at that.
And the other thing one of the things that the committee did not pass through was some of these, when you take a shower, hot water,
Mhm.
it takes a while for the hot water
Right,
to heat up, and people just let the water run. And one of the other rebates could
that's a great
be,
idea.
is to basically give them, I forget the name.
But tankless water,
Tankless water.
that's a great idea. That's good stuff, yeah.
something To just give rebate, especially on new construction.
Yeah, because it's instantaneous. Yep,
Instantaneous,
I agree.
and I know Terry built his house over here.
Yeah.
He's got tankless, he's good, because he understands
Yeah.
that the water,
Yep.
it doesn't get heated up.
Absolutely. That's a great point. That's a great one. I think something that's what we want to work with the committee here, is to come up with ideas
Right,
that can actually add value to those who are getting the utility bill, because we do need wastewater, but we also have to maintain it safe for everybody. And so how can we leverage both, right? And so that's a great idea, because you're right. At my house, was built in the 80s, I have to just let it run for a
Right,
couple of
right.
minutes, and that water's just being wasted. So that's a great point.
right.
Well,
Yeah,
that's-
well, I don't know, I did that research, I don't know how much water.
We looked at it basically on the retrofit costs
Yeah.
and basically the cost on the rebate amount to make it worth it for a resident that's gonna go and do it. And that one also had a permitting aspect. So right now with our water rebates, we don't have to have a permit required, so it's more convenient for the resident.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that balance on, the convenience and the usage of the rebate and making that behavior change. With our rebate amounts kind of being a high percentage of the cost, it's theoretically incentivizing them to do something they weren't already doing. I think kind of with that dollar amount and the amount of funding we had available, it'd be more, hey, we're giving money to someone that's doing this already, you know, that already had it planned.
Yeah.
But,
I think it'd be more.
but for new
professional.
construction,
Yeah.
could be a different discussion.
We'll definitely
New
research. I think that's a
construction,
great idea.
That should be, you know, that's something that the council can mandate. The other thing is the gray water. You know, there are a lot of, and unfortunately, we have, what happens is everything goes into the sewer,
Right.
basically. Gray water, Robert Dye, when he was building his house, he wanted to build a gray water system, but he couldn't do it because there's no way for that water to be basically recirculated, used for just hand washing and things like that, not for drinking.
Yeah,
But
that's,
these are some of the ideas
yeah,
that a lot of cities are adapting. And I think I'm glad that you are here talking to us because this committee is all committed
yeah.
to this. We implemented this toilet replacement program the first year we were in business.
Oh, great. No, and as you read in the memo, it kind of talks about what you guys done in the past and we're celebrating. And I think those are great ideas. And just like the tankless heater, I think that's something worth researching. And that's why we want to come here and discuss this because we're partners in this, you know, like I said, we got to maintain the system, but how do we have your input to help us lessen that burden, right? That financial burden. So that's great.
had something?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about any gray water options that you guys are willing to talk about or collaborate on.
We're gonna look at it all, so. we'll
I mean, cause
bring that
like
back.
Al was saying, like, there's no way, you know, you're not allowed to have your, you know, your sink go into the, you know, into a cistern, like outside your kitchen and save that for gardening, like. There are people that actually do that, but they're like, we can't do that. It's against the city code, or there's not a place, there's not a way to, you know, have your shower water diverted so you can use that to wash your car or things like that. So.
Especially while you're letting it heat up, right?
Right, especially while you're letting it heat up. So it's just, I think that there are some code obstacles.
Mhm.
That keep some residents that might be willing to do that. Like I would be willing to invest the cost to have that done at my house.
Yeah.
But I can't get a permit to do that.
Well, let us
So-
research the pros and cons for that. I mean, we
Yeah.
can bring up ideas and stuff, but that's great. That's, like I said, bring it all here. We'll look at it.
And then also just, you know, native planting, people, I mean, lawns is such a waste of space. Land is such a waste of space. And there are some obstacles to people getting into that, either, you know, as a educational element, there's like there's a large group of, most of us, we grew up with lawns, and so like,
Yeah.
it seems unkept, it seems you know, like it's, you know, people aren't taking care of their yards, or it's overgrown or whatever, but that's just the natural life cycle of this grass or this plant. So, you know, the amount of water that is used just maintaining landscape
Yeah.
is very
We'll definitely take a look.
challenging. And from a resident's point of view, it is very difficult for me to sell people replacing their grass with a native grass when there's so much city property that is
That's the call grass.
just manicured Bermuda. Like, it's really hard sell. I mean, the city has to like lead the example of that, and it's hard to sell it when they're like, oh, well, all the parks are perfectly manicured and. you
We
know,
are a city of park, yeah.
Right, but the term park can mean a lot of things.
That's right.
So I would think that part of what could be helpful is embracing that idea of like, how can the city demonstrate different kinds of
Absolutely. We should be leaders.
areas that are like not as much water. You don't need to mow as much. You don't have to,
Yeah, absolutely.
because, you know, I can go to my neighbor who like sprays off their driveway and you know, as many times as I can go every time they see them doing it, but they're still doing it. So I think it's just,
And they're still bagging their leaves.
and they're still bagging their leaves and doing all the other things that make it
Those are great things and I'll
more
definitely pass
difficult.
that,
Yeah.
pass it along to the Parks Department.
Because I think we'd love to work with y'all on like other ways we'd love more rebate programs, or more, you know,
And we're definitely, we're gonna explore all these avenues and take a look and see what can be done, the art of the possible here.
Yeah,
And if there are, regulations, permitting regulations, we'll look at how we can handle those hurdles too. So we just need the ideas and
Yeah.
we'll put something to work. And see what we can
Perfect.
do.
Well, as you look at rebates, that would also be the xeriscaping and stuff, because one of the biggest hurdles to changing over from a lawn is getting rid of your grass.
Right, right.
You know, much less the purchasing of the native materials,
Yeah.
but
It could be-
just getting rid of the grass is,
Yeah, I heard Las Vegas was even giving money back if you removed all your grass, because again, they're in the same fate as we are.
Yeah.
They're, they're in the desert, so they're worse than us, but nevertheless, it's still talking.
yeah.
Yeah, so those are great ideas, and we definitely want to look about being good stewards of our water supply.
One of the other things that would be helpful is residents pay for the sewer rate based on their consumption,
Correct.
including the irrigation.
Correct.
The city can easily put a sub-meter. And basically, that should reduce the residents. Because when you're irrigating, you're not sending it into the sewer. It goes into the ground and
Yeah, so there's many components. That's something we'll take under advisement. There's also making an irrigation tap to just let the water. So there's other ways to do that, but we'll take that under consideration and see which is the best way possible. How we can provide an avenue to the residents to maybe, if you want to irrigate, here's a way too, but we're also want to make sure, like we're talking about. I think the old ideas of watering your grass, keeping it as clean as you can, is gonna start to fade out at some point. Well, I think right now we're okay, but we gotta be thinking, we gotta be future oriented. And I know that's what this committee is about. And so that's why we're here to collaborate together and find out, I get that we want to keep landscape. I love beautiful landscape, but at some point, as we keep getting more population growth, we're gonna have to make some hard decisions.
Yeah.
And so it starts with now. What are we doing now? What are we putting in place for the future? And so that's what we're trying to do, but we'll definitely look into that as well too. So the good thing about the sewer cap removal is that it enforces that behavior to make sure you're watering wisely. Maybe there's another way to do it. We're just starting out right now. So like I said, there's a 20-year plan, especially for the aging infrastructure that we have. We want to make sure we can update those and keep those, because once you replace that old pipe, the shelf life on the PVC is about 100 years. That's what they say right on the technical specs. That's what we're hoping. Once we replace those, once we get through that 20 years, it won't be another 100 years till you have to replace it theoretically. So that's where we're trying to go. We're trying to make sure that we're focusing on the future, being sustainable, how we can provide a future for the children that are gonna come up behind us. So that's how we're looking at it, and it starts with us. And so these are great ideas. And like I said, we're not kicking anything back. We're gonna write all these down and look at them, see what makes sense and how we can get to that, to make that possible for everybody.
What percentage of the consumption would you say is for irrigation for the residential side?
On the irrigation,
Yeah,
just for irrigation only or for
or
total?
just like lawns and stuff like that?
The average consumption that we're seeing, based on what we see in our meters, on our charges, is about 7,500 gallons is what we're looking at household consumption, and I'm assuming that includes some irrigation as well. There are some tactics that some of the bigger water districts are doing, saying you don't have to water every day. So once or twice a week should be plenty, not that much. So what we're seeing, the average is about 7,500 to 8,000 gallons a month that household of 4 uses. And so, add a little bit more if you have more than 4, or add a little less. Or take away from that. So about 7,500 is the average household that we see here in Farmers Branch. Is that pretty much right on one?
Yeah, and because those people aren't using more than the 10,000 gallons, they're not seeing higher sewer rates because they're still under that 10,000 gallon threshold. It's the folks who irrigate, who have the irrigation system and they're running their irrigation 3 and 4 days a week from midnight to 3 a.m. that are using 15, 20, 30,000 gallons. And they're the ones that are calling us going, oh my gosh, my sewer rate has gone up exponentially. It's like, well, yes, because you're now being billed for that. So in addition to all of the rebate programs like Ray had mentioned, but also kind of trying to change some behavior and make people mindful. And I think this is kind of leaning towards that because the water rates have always been structured where, and if you'll see it in this memo, I'll just tell you, it's not like buying in bulk when you go to Costco. When you use water in Farmers Branch, the more you use, the higher it costs. And so we've always kind of had conservation in mind when charging people for water, but now it's going to be a little bit more
Robust.
intentional and robust, exactly, and really try to kind of change some of that behavior, make people mindful, and so if we can, with having the rebate programs kind of front and center, people knowing that they can do an irrigation checkup, because that's the thing too, where some of the calls we've gotten are people are like, I don't have a leak, like I don't, there's, nothing's running into the street or, but they don't realize they're running their irrigation in the middle of the night, every single night when they're sleeping, they don't know it, and so doing the irrigation checkups and proactively monitoring that kind of stuff is gonna be a big help. So and I know last night you talked about the smart meters, you did a great job last night. Once we get that stuff online, that's gonna help too. So like, sometimes you don't know you have a leak. And so this will help with that. So,
And yeah, to that effect, the memo that I have there on the second page, right in the middle of the sheet there, we talked about what we've gotten, some of the complaints are those that are using anywhere from 47,000 gallons to 100,000 gallons in a month.
Oh my gosh.
And so those are the people that are calling us and blowing up, and rightfully so, I mean, but you see, it's already influencing the behavior that we're looking for as water. There should be, in my opinion, right, in my opinion, unless you have a pool, there should be no reason you're using anywhere that much.
AI processors.
So there are things we're trying to correct, and like Maria said, maybe they just said it and forgot about it, and that's fine, but this will expose, and we can try to work with those individuals and see how let's look at your irrigation, are you, I haven't touched it since I moved into the house, or something like that. Those irrigation sensors that goes off when it's still raining, and I know you've seen it, and we're guilty of it, right, the city is too.
City, too,
Yes, I get that, I've seen it, I've been driving out there, and like I said, I just gotta get a hold of those people at parks and try to work with them and see what I can do.
Are permits required to put in irrigation?
Yes, because there's backflow that they have to permit. I think to change the controller, I don't believe requires a
Yeah.
permit, but I'll confirm on that.
Just because we gotta make sure, once the water leaves our facilities and goes through the meter, it can't come back in, so that's the double check valve we're
Right.
talking about, to
Mhm.
prevent any, cross connection contamination. So once it goes through, it can't come back, so that's the plumbing permit aspect that he was talking about.
But once they get the permit and they get it approved or whatever, there's no requirements of checking it every year.
No, there is, that's why you say, especially the new house.
No, I guess.
If it's a new house,
Uh-huh,
when it is inspected now, there are state laws, state regulations on double checks
uh-huh.
that. Let me introduce myself. Mark Moffitt, City of French Park Superintendent.
Okay.
When a new irrigation system goes in at today's time, okay? That double check is inspected when it goes in. It goes through community service and it gets checked off. From there, it goes to an organization that we use that sends out an annual report where they have to have it inspected annually every year. If the older houses that were put in many, many years ago and had those double checks put in, I'm not gonna say they're grandfathered in, but you don't know that they're there to be inspected.
Mhm.
Until it gets into the system, there is not a report to know that they're there.
So the older houses maybe didn't have a permit or didn't have the double check requirement, is what you're saying?
That's correct. I mean, the city here, I've been employed here since 1989.
Uh-huh,
Okay, the way that most irrigation systems are when they go in is you submit your permit, but the only inspection that really is part of it is the double check.
Mhm.
And that report has to be turned in by the irrigator who puts it in or the licensed plumber. And from then, it is supposed to be checked annually with a letter that goes out to them.
From residential?
so could there,
It's supposed, if your system was correctly put in, permitted, and it was inspected when it was in, our system is supposed to send you a letter to have that annual report done and inspected, as far as the double check. As far as inspecting the irrigation system, there's no rule, there's no law other than you to get that $70 rebate.
Mhm.
But the actual double check device is supposed to be inspected yearly.
So I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
Well, I was gonna say, I've been in my house since 2019. I've never received a letter from the city about getting that inspected, so.
It was the irrigation system in when you moved in?
Yeah.
Then it's not necessarily that system when that law passed. It's possible that that double check is not in our system or in the system that sends out that letter.
Okay.
So I have two. pie in the sky. So could there be a program by which y'all do like the garage amnesty one where, you know, people who have already got irrigation systems that are installed, whether they were permitted, not or whatever, if they register with the city to get this annual reminder, you know, no harm, no foul. And then also in the annual reminder, can we put some kind of marketing, letting them know that they have the rebate program? That if they get it inspected, they're qualified for a $75 rebate.
Yeah.
Towards any, I don't know how that would look.
We can look at, definitely the latter part one for sure. We can kind of figure out who owns the system, irrigation system, and send them one just to kind of do that. That's something we can probably look at and kind of work on. Now, with the irrigation system, it gets a little tricky because the amnesty program that you're talking about is they illegally built, renovated a garage. So
Right.
it's a little different
Yeah,
approach because at that time it wasn't mandated that you
Right.
had to. So
Mhm.
different tactics, but we can look at that and see what,
I'm just like, and I just use that as an example because like, you know, there are people that like, you move into a house that's already got the irrigation system. You don't know if it's ever been checked. You don't know the
So-
rules, but you want to be
Yeah.
involved. Like Price would be like, oh, I'll sign up for that.
yeah, and that's something we can look at voluntarily as well
Yeah.
too. But again, so the backflow device is just to prevent water from coming back in. So there's that doesn't check or go check your interface where you put in
Right.
what you need. That's nothing tied to that.
Right, I understand. I'm just saying that like people may not feel like they just set it and forget it. So they don't know they're
Yes,
supposed to be
right.
having it checked by y'all once a
Well,
year.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
That's separate. There's no involvement. There's nobody checking. There's nothing once a year as far as the interface setting goes to your sprinkler system. That's why we do have that rebate program that, hey, maybe you should get a check. And we know it costs money, so here's a $75 rebate.
Mhm.
But for the plumbing aspect, it's a different component for that one. Did I make that clear?
Right, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is that he didn't even know that the plumbing aspect of it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different one. And we'll definitely look at that. and see.
But I'm saying like, people may not, if they're not doing this part, then they're probably not doing the other
You're right,
part.
yes.
That's so if we can get those two parts.
And that's why I said the latter part that you mentioned, I think we can do that
Oh,
ourselves and get those letters regardless of whether you're getting your backflow or not,
Right.
depending when you're
Okay.
installed. I think that's a great idea. Say, hey, are you aware that you have a sprinkler system? Have you checked it in a year or two, or
Right.
whatever it is? I think that's a great idea to go that.
Can we send out, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, in managing commercial facilities, we get it from the city. The commercial buildings do get the letter from the city that they need the annual inspection for the backflow by a licensed technician, whether it's a plumber or an irrigator.
Yeah.
At my building, we just have our landscaper do it
Right.
here.
And typically, that's the thing sometimes. So from the commercial and the residential, it's a little different as far as how we kind of go about it. The commercial side, because you're hiring an irrigator, licensed irrigator, he knows the proper steps to do that. Now, what was done for residential side, did they do it themselves? I mean, we're coming down on that a little bit tougher now, especially with the cross connection and stuff like that. So that may be, it just depends on when it was installed, who installed it, what they do. So we can go back and check, and like I was saying, I agree with, maybe we should look at everybody who has an irrigation that is subscribed to our system. Hey, just send them a letter saying, hey, have you checked your irrigation? But that's something we can definitely look into as well.
Right, because if this is something that's that could be a compliance issue, now that I put myself on Front Street here.
We'll come look.
Right, so that with that, is that since I do have, it's an irrigation system, it's got the Rainbird system, it's got the whole, the settings, and I get it inspected, but I haven't had the backflow check valves.
Yeah, and it may be that, have you ever had your irrigator come service your system anytime?
Just to repair a leak, but
Just
that's
to repair,
it.
and then, but sometimes they just automatically do it as well, but we can check on that. I mean, we'll definitely go back and look at that and see what's going on.
Right, but I mean, I guarantee that with all the people moving here, people buying the houses and all that, they don't know that they're required to do that.
Okay.
Cause I thought I checked it and everything. I didn't know I was required to do that as for,
And I'll get with building inspections on that, and make sure to see what the system is, because that's one that goes to the plumbing side. So, but we'll definitely touch base to see what's going on with, and look at it.
and if that's the case, I mean, you would think that, the city would, when properties transfer, or at least sending the general letter out to especially the newer houses. With the, you know, you'd be able to check it through the dates on the permits and everything. Or that would be in the system where it would just auto generate, these are the. And even if it's something where it's like, well, we'll send it to half the new builds this year, you know, built 2010 and after. And then half of them after that, just so that people know that this is something that's required by the city.
Absolutely. We'll definitely take a look at that.
Because that's, I mean, it's obviously, it's obviously something where you know people don't want to pay something extra.
Mhm.
But if they, like me, they didn't know that it was a requirement for residential. You know, you don't wanna open up your mail and have a fine because you didn't know that you didn't.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
It's almost, and I just, not to interrupt there, it's almost a gray area at this point in time right now. If your house was built after a certain date, and I apologize, I don't have that date.
2014.
If the house was built after a certain date, you should, when they installed that, they should have had it inspected, okay?
Yeah.
Once that double check fails, or your handles break, or you have it replaced, that plumber, that irrigator should have pulled a permit with the city. And at that time, when it goes in, they test it, and that's when it goes into the system.
Mhm.
But they should be registered with the city, and they should turn that in. That is the proper way to do it.
Okay.
And we'll go back and look at those. Like I said, there is a gray area it's been something that's been worked out. I know for the commercial side, it's automatic, right?
Right.
For the residential side, it's always, Texas government always handles it, the state handles it a little bit different for residential areas. So we'll definitely go back and.
Well, and multifamily, I'm assuming too.
And multifamily, yes, yeah, we consider that, we would consider that commercial, but you're right. Anything else that, yes,
Okay, so even though we don't have access to the dashboards for the meters, shouldn't we at least notify residents that they've had 0 increments of no water usage for 150 days or something? Like, they're constantly leaking a little bit. And they don't know it because their bill's always high, right? But the meters are able to do a 15-minute interval. So
Yeah.
if they've never had a 0, that should be fine, even if your numbers are wrong and they're not accurate to the gallon. A 0 is a 0. So shouldn't we just send them something to say, hey, you should get a leak detection and we'll give you a rebate towards your leak detection?
so what I mean is, it's the interface. I mean, it can read it, you just can't transfer it over to what's going on as far as that goes.
Well, I know the meters can give data.
Yeah, they
So
can't.
you can get a report. You can call into the city and get a report. So those can be generated on your side.
But that would be something that the customer would initiate. That's why we're trying to give the customers the power to go on and look at it specifically, what intervals in there.
But giving residents the ability to do that doesn't mean they're going to. But the
Right.
city has the ability to check all of them and say, we have 4,000,
Yeah,
homes
we have.
that are all leaking, always, and they never have a 0.
So again, we don't know that, right? So we can't go in there and,
What do you mean you don't know that?
what I'm saying is we would have to get alerts from all those. I don't know if there's a systemic way of it getting to us, like it has to back to us, to the provider. For the individual meter, it can send it to them and let them read that. But that's something we can explore as well too.
I mean, regardless of the dashboard, that is something that can be pulled by the city right now.
Can I add something? So I don't know the threshold, but I know if there are residents who have an astronomically high usage out of the norm, they will, our meter readers will go to their door and put a tag on it that says, hey, you've got crazy high usage, you probably need to get this checked. And so there, people like a slab leak, you may not be aware of that, but that's gonna cause your usage to skyrocket. And so we do that in those situations. I don't know the exact threshold off the top of my head, but if they do, because they'll run high usage reports. And so in our utility billing in finance, and I'm not in finance, so I just I know a little bit about it, and they will go out to those residences and tag them and say, hey, you need to get this, you probably need to get this checked. So there's other people where they'll have astronomically high usage and it's because they removed a tree and they've got to do some work, or they're filling their pool. And so just because someone has really high usage, it's not always an indication of a leak. But we will still go out and say, hey, you might want to get this checked.
I'm not referring to
Yeah.
people who have an astronomically high usage. I'm referring to people who never have a 15-minute interval that's 0. Ever.
I used to work for company that made the meter reading devices and would send it out and everything. And this was 20 years ago, and they had leak detection capability on there that you would set a threshold, that it was over certain time intervals where there was always a reading that it was consuming, that it would flag an alert and the record file that would get sent over the RF signal to the, whatever software Itron uses to collect that information, which would then get passed into the billing system. And then that leak detection flag could generate a message on someone's bill that says, warning, you may have a leak.
Yeah,
So that's generally how.
check.
But that would come out once a month. That's
Sure.
on the bill.
But
So,
right now,
Well, it's been like 30 years, 40, we got houses that were built in the 50s and 60s.
yeah.
Yeah.
Every single one of them is leaking every single day.
So, yes, I mean, that's something we'll explore that and see what's going on. But
Question.
like I said, we're trying to get those meters out by the summer.
Question, what is the reason that, the software implementation, or, I mean, are you all going for a bid where,
So the software, the meters are in, we have the software, it's just not providing the right information as it should. So IT is exploring that to see why is it not taking the data from the meter and putting it in the customer service portal to show the exact
Oh, okay,
amount.
okay.
So that's where we're,
it's an integration problem?
yeah, it's an integration problem. So IT's handling that. Once they get that figured out, we're gonna deploy that so that everybody can have those tactics and being able to set up, hey, send me alerts if I'm not using water.
And so just exploring it a little bit further, you can get an app on your phone, by the way,
Correct. You will be able to do that too as well.
so that you can see your daily usage
Correct.
and then wonder why at 11 o'clock, someone's taking a shower.
Right, and that's what we want to empower people, yeah. So that's what they're there, we're almost there, we're hoping to have that all ready to go. But that's correct, that's what we want to empower residents to have.
I think in hindsight, having the rate change and the availability of that would have made it
Yeah.
a lot better.
At the
for-
same time,
Yeah,
for sure.
make it better for residents.
Yeah.
You'd have that moment of everybody understanding that their rates are going up, but then this is a tool that the city is giving you to understand when your like consumption is happening and stuff like that. Are the irrigation meters also smart as well?
Yeah, whatever meter we use is gonna be,
Okay.
whether it's irrigation or residential.
You got a lot on your plate?
yeah.
Yeah, no, we do. That's what we said. There's a lot to come and overcome here as well, and, ideas that are great, so we'll definitely take those back and explore them and see what we can do. So this won't be the last time we talk about this subject.
Awesome.
So there'll be more opportunities to come.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you for all you do. I appreciate you guys taking your time to come out here, provide us with feedback and letting us know how we can make a difference in your everyday life. So just thank you for that. And, if there's no more questions, we'll proceed with the rest of the agenda.
I'd like to say just one little thing. People who care, but a lot of people don't even think about it. So if we can just put it in front of them, they might care. So that's why I was saying it would be great if we could just en masse check all the meters and see, are there any zeros? And if there's never a zero, just let them know.
I'll
Yeah, I
talk
mean-
to our meter reader supervisor about, because we're not in the weeds as much with that kind of stuff. So I'll talk to the meter reader supervisor tomorrow to see what the capabilities are
Yeah.
about running that information and then notifying residents. And then I'll have Alex follow up with you and let you know what
Thank
we
you so
find.
So like I said, we're willing to explore any avenue that's brought up, we'll definitely look into it though.
Cause I always try and think about like, how does it scale? And if there's 12 people who care about getting their irrigation checked, that's not gonna solve the problem.
Right.
I mean, it's good to do that and it's good to reward people for caring, but sometimes you gotta,
Well, and part of it is the communication, especially to the residents of what this means for them. It's not just the bill that they get every month. It's planning and making sure we have water for their children and their grandchildren.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference when you bring it to, you can either water your lawn and be happy with that this summer, or you could ensure,
Yeah.
you do your part for ensuring that if your children are still here, that they still have a water source. And back to your point of everybody loves a well manicured lawn. Yes, they do. And there are some incredible examples, especially in Rapids, of completely zero-scape landscaping. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It takes planning.
Right.
And a lot of effort, but so does other landscaping. So if we can just, all these programs, make it clear to them
Yeah.
the immediate benefit and the long term. It's just like the landfill, you know,
Yeah.
your children, you're not gonna be around to deal with it, but your children.
Absolutely.
So,
And there are many tactics that it will take time to kind of develop as changing that behavior as far as landscaping goes. And we're all used to that, but it will, either we do it now in little by little increments, or we're gonna be forced to do it sometime in the
you're right.
20 years, 30 years.
It'll just be a sudden left
Yeah.
turn, yeah.
But much more painful.
Yeah, so no, I appreciate it. If you do think of any other ideas, please send it
So I
to
sorry,
Alex.
just two other things,
Yeah.
like, I think just as a citizen, I hear everyone talking about like that watering the lawn consumes a lot, but we have these irrigation meters, we could see how much like residents are using just to water their lawn and raise awareness about like, this is how many thousands and 10,000s of gallons we use this month just to water people's lawns. And I mean, the smart meters should allow you to do that.
So some of the irrigation comes through the regular water meter.
yeah.
Some have
Right,
separate,
but
but not
you could-
everybody
But
has
you
that.
could, because you do have irrigation, you could at least say, we know that it's at least this much.
We
and
can
it's
know
probably
a partial
that.
picture of it, yes.
Yeah.
Correct. I just wanna be sure.
Yeah, I get that, cause I have a sprinkler that's not connected to that. And then I think the other thing, like, if you really wanted to highlight Euroscape, low landscape, do something to like have a citywide contest to see who has the best, or highlight a different house that has that every month on.
Hey, you know, we used to be yard of the month or whatever. Now you go to, who has the best, like you said, that's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Instead of yard of the month, well, yes, yard of the month, but.
But it's in a
xeriscape
different
yard of the
perspective,
month,
right, yeah.
or no, you know,
Yeah,
low water usage.
absolutely.
And I think the city, this is a big deal for me, topic for me, but I think the city could set the example and has to set the example
Yeah.
before, I mean, this little group's gonna buy into it. We're already doing it,
Right.
right?
Well,
But
you guys
my
are part of
neighbors
this committee.
And, but I think the park at the southeast corner or southwest corner of, Valley View and Webb's Chapel, where that beautiful
Yeah.
water fountain is,
Yeah.
and when they change flowers every season, sorry, park manager.
Yeah, Barney Parsons.
I just cringe because I think there's no parking to get there. It's not used. It's absolutely beautiful. But that's the absolute perfect park to change into a xeriscape for the city
Absolutely. That's a great point.
because you can't use it.
Yep.
You know, but it's got a beautiful bench, but I've never seen a butt in it.
And you're going at 30 miles an hour, hopefully you'll
Yeah.
35 PD will get to.
So I'm going to ask you to pursue this for me, this idea for me,
Of course.
and get back and let us know.
Yes, definitely. We'll write that down. But no, I think that's a
I
great
would
idea,
like
but it's
that
gonna.
one looked at in this meeting while I'm at it, because I got you here in the seat.
Well, no, it's like on the big medium.
All of them. Let's just say. all of them.
Yeah, so, again, if anything, email me or the group here, we'll definitely take care of this, so, we'll love to hear your ideas, you guys have some great ideas.
Probably didn't know you were getting into it when you came to
No,
the meeting tonight.
I was told this group is way ahead of sustainability, and you guys did prove it here, so I appreciate it. So we'll definitely look at those, anything else comes up, just let us know, and, we'll get back to you.
All right,
All right.
Thank you very much.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Let's say it on the calendar when we're gonna see you.
We'll schedule another one, we'll try to do it every periodically, something just to come back here, at least hang out with you guys, have some food, but,
Yeah, we'll get you.
yeah, no, at the very least, talk a little bit.
Provide good food here.
Quarterly.
Do it quarterly.
Okay, we said it quarterly.
Yeah, we
Alex is looking at me like,
Alex,
That
like, not
sounds
so
great.
many.
Yeah, hear about this at the office.
That's fine, we can definitely do that, so we're here to serve you, so if that's what you want, we'll definitely implement it.
well, let's look at it. Let our committee talk about it. So
Okay.
I'm watching his face.
You guys let me know.
Should I leave now?
All right.
If we do it, maybe we don't have to get together.
Well, I mean, these are great
Yeah.
ideas. for
No,
us to
they are.
Take back.
Yeah.
You know,
We definitely will, like I said, we're capturing every idea, and the owls captured it as well too, so we'll definitely, put something together.
All right, well, I'll rein it in a little bit here. We'll move on to medians.
Okay, and I'll step out and let them jump in over here so you can have. more
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you.
I can just throw through. the
Here, did you
slides.
say what else is tagging in, but you're still, You're here?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a Diet Coke and then I'll.
So we have our Parks Department here. Mark has already introduced himself. We have Tara Bradley.
I'm the parks planner with Parks and Recreation. I'm here. How are you? I'm here to talk a little bit about the median maintenance plan along with Mark, Moffett, Park Superintendent. So what we'll do is we'll go through the presentation. This one was presented to, City Council on December 16th.
Let's hold on just for a second, wait for Suzette to get back, because this is kind of her big deal, so we'll give her a pause. I don't want her to miss anything.
Is this on
Hand
Oak Brook
dryer.
Parkway? Is this on Oak Brook Parkway? Because they did the medians on Oak Brook.
This one is, no, it's on, Ford Road
Okay.
and then on, Mercer Drive. Mercer Parkway.
Yeah, that's the new one on board on top.
We're good.
Okay, we're back.
Okay. Hi, Suzanne. Pause for a minute. please.
I'm the quiet one.
So just to provide you a little background, the city has about 55 acres of medians within the city. And we created a plan proposed to, capture maintenance schedules and protocols for existing maintenance for medians. It's also a way for us to be a little bit proactive about maintaining our medians within the city. And also too, we did acquire new medians within 2025, so this is a document that will help to sustain those medians. So what the plan includes is maintenance frequencies and tasks, so that would include mowing, weeding, irrigation, litter control, seasonal plantings as well, and also inspection reporting protocols and the safety protocols for median maintenance. I know you all see a lot of times, park staff is in the median working on it, making sure that they're being safe as they're working through that process and cars are seeing them as they're passing by. And then also, a newer, item, community outreach measures, just to allow people to know what's happening prior to the medians being maintained or changed over. And usually that would be just informing the residents with signage, media and mailings as well. So with this plan, it is a living document. It is a document that could change just because of the experience that staff is having, or even from citizen input that is being obtained. And also with collaboration with Public Works as well for medians, for restoration of medians and creation of medians as well throughout the city. And also to ensure staff, safety is during maintenance. So those are a couple of things that are very important within this document here. So we have the document. I know it was in your packet. I'm not sure if you all got a chance to look through it, and hopefully you'll have a lot of feedback they can give us as well too. And then we also have Mark Moffett here again. That is, his crew does all the maintenance of the medians here within the city. So he'll be able to answer some questions you have as well. Any questions?
So
They look beautiful.
that last picture though, was that, what type of grass is that?
That's ryegrass winter rye. That is right after they got done doing the new asphalt and everything. There was a lot of dirt there, and with the events that were going on, we spread ryegrass on it and have it grow. It wasn't time to get sod down. There was a lot of stuff that was washing over the road, so that was to help retain the dirt to keep everything in place.
Okay. Any plans to convert it?
Yes, sir.
One comment, the work that you did on Oak Brook Parkway,
We're not done.
yeah, I see there are 3 medians not done, but it was beautiful. It looks great.
Thank you.
And the signage that, things are changing, that's great too, because a lot of times city is gonna do the work, but we don't know what's going on, so thank you for what you
You're
got.
welcome. This is a plan that's been going on for about 2 years now, that's going back and forth with the homeowners associations that were out there. It gave us an opportunity to take care of the far east side, just to kind of start
Yeah,
sections at a time redoing and trying to revamp some of this stuff. The medians that were on the far west side, yes, there was a lot of issues because we removed all the trees that were there that were mature trees, but there was major issues with the amount of tree roots and the way that the median was mounted up. We couldn't get the new electrical to go through, which we're still waiting on Encore unfortunately, but it should start next week so that we can move forward, putting in our sprinkler system and then bringing in the plants. Well, Easton should have the Bermuda grass put in by next week, so,
It's wonderful.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
As far as the areas with the Bermuda grass, will there be any integration of other kind of low water plants?
We put in some, it's called Benelli crepe myrtles, and I will say this, that we had a plan that all went towards, and this, they're evolving on us trying to build a landscape that uses less water, okay? Fortunately, I'll just be frank, people move to this city for the greenery and the color and everything else, and it's kind of having to get rid of the old guard per se. To start revamping these medians to kind of get them to where we can get it to more, as y'all used a minute ago, zero scape. But when you're dealing with medians, and I need everybody to understand this, you're in a concrete vortex. And I can plant desert plants in it, but I'm still gonna have to water them because of the temperature of the heat from the concrete that burns and bulbs the roots in that median.
Right.
Now, I can water less, but when you change these plants that say are desert plants to try to sustain this, it does sometimes burn the roots and we would still have to water. Not as much, but it would sustain some of the water usage.
Correct. And then, I mean, I understand once you start working in concrete islands, you're gonna get a lot of heat transfer through that,
Yes.
especially in the summertime. And when it comes to this type of thing, I don't think that we are gonna be able to establish a zero water. I don't think that's feasible, but just a water reduction to the irrigation of that I think is what we'd really be looking for on that.
One of our practices, and I guess this is the best way that I can kind of explain our irrigation system when we run them. When it's 70 degrees out, between 70 and 80 degrees, it's pretty much one time a week, okay? When it starts getting up to 85 to 90 degrees, it's about 2 times a week, and it depends on what type of plant is there. Now, when it gets up to 95 degrees and 100 degrees, we're pretty much watering 3 times a week. But we have men that go out that are responsible for that property, and they try to take care of it. Unfortunately, we have not moved to a central control system, and that's where we've been trying to move to for many years. Now, we've put some of the components in for if we ever get the funding to go ahead and put a central control system in. There's many different types of sprinkler heads, sprinkler nozzles, and I don't want to bore y'all, but say a 15 hat. That's pretty much a standard nozzle that most people have in their yard. It puts out 2 gallons per minute for a standard hat. If you go with the MP rotator, which is that little spider leg looking thing, it puts out half the gallonage, okay? In theory, you're supposed to have less runoff, but you have to water longer to get the penetration that you need into the ground. With a standard nozzle of 2 gallons per minute, how many of y'all have a sprinkler system in your house? And you have a standard nozzle. How long are you watering per zone?
I think we do about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We do.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes, and just say they're halves, 2 gallons per minute. That's 20 gallons, okay? Once you water over about 5 to 6 minutes on a standard nozzle, it's going down the street. You're not percolating into the soil anymore. It's allowed as much as it is. So say you take your sprinkler system down to 4 to 5 minutes, let it run through per zone, and then you come back 2 hours later or 3 hours later, and you set it again to get that same 10 minutes, you've allowed your water to percolate through the soil to get a deeper watering versus all of it running off down the street. And that's kind of how we set our systems. So it might look like we're watering all night long down the same street, but we're doing it to get a deep watering at multiple start times. And that does help you, and it saves you your usage of water to make it the most that you can without losing it.
But it'd be great to get this information. I don't know any of this.
I'm texting my sprinkler guy right now. And he said I had that back thing. But
Thank you. I mean, this is important information. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Has your department ever done like an open house? For
Yeah.
the community to come hear you at the library and your staff explain to the community how,
Parks Board meeting.
yeah, okay.
Oh, a board meeting.
Occasionally, we'll have do like an open house thing, or we go to the open neighborhood deals, and people will come up to us and we'll discuss certain things with them. We used to have some neighborhood meetings to where we put on classes.
Yes.
We haven't done that in a while. The community garden, they tend to have this room once a month to where they kind of do some things in it. So that's kind of where we're at. But educating people a little bit more on
That
kind of
would
things.
be so, I mean, what you're just talking about, the sprinkler system, I mean, it's amazing.
You just tossed it out casually, but it's.
That to me, it's like, oh my God.
Had 35 years of being a beat in your head, so.
It's good. I'm sure you're full of all that kind of good information.
This is the best part of the meeting, man.
Well, I'm happy to listen to these guys cut me down over here. What other questions can I answer for y'all?
You just have to keep talking. We learn.
Oh.
So what kind of flowering, plants have you seen get less roasted by being in the median?
You know, the last 10 years, I'll just say the last 10 years of the weather and stuff, the way it is, it's been, honestly,
No.
it's been the worst because of hard freezes, dry weather, and everything else. And when we talk about grass, the most unforgiving grass that you can minimally water and it'll go green, and even if it starts getting a hot time during the season, and you don't want to spend as much water, but as soon as it rains, it goes back green, is Bermuda grass. St. Augustine, I love to walk in it, but it takes so much water. It's the grasses that we have now that have to do with it, they have Raleigh and some other varieties of it. They all still have an issue where they start having a take all patch, or they call it sad, or it ends up taking it and they get brown spots and everything else. Bermuda grass is a very hardy plant. I really like the new one that's out called Tip Tuff. It's a little more denser, better than common Bermuda, but it'll always green itself back out. It'll go dormant. You could have an area and it will change shades of color and even go brown, but as soon as it gets a little bit of water, it goes green again. If you can minimal water it and it'll stay green. Fertilize it, it'll go green. Jasmine, we've been planting a lot back because we've lost a lot with some of the hard cold freezes and the droughts. But we're not trying to recreate the whole wheel where on some of these others where it's a full replacement of landscape. Valwood, it's horrible between 35 and Joseph. We're working on getting that totally redone, getting a design together. Tara and I have been working on it for a good while now, but it's one other project that's more important. Valley View, we're just kind of putting back what's there. There's plants that are missing. We're gonna add it. We're gonna get it to where it looks good. In some of these other medians, so say like Oak Brook, we tried to go with more of a, not really a xeriscape, more some drought tolerant plants. But you have to understand, we're gonna get kickback from some folks. That area did not want that. So we tried to work with them to give them a little bit more of a color. We're in Dallas, Texas. We're not in Arizona per se, is some of the feedback we get. We came here for this lush greenness, I came from Arizona to get away from that. You know, it'll have some few maybe desert willows here, but we kind of took those off to go more with like some red buds and some actual crepe myrtles to give them a little more color. We're putting 2 big trees back down to 30-foot wide median. But our medians that are 13 foot, we're not going with those big shade trees anymore because of what it does to the curbs and what it does to the streets. And the way that it causes some roots to make things unlevel and continue to have street repair. So We're trying to work with Public Works on that.
Appreciate it.
We have, just so y'all understand, we have a street that they went in and they redid. They put in what's called root barriers. It's a 4-foot plastic bill that's keep the trees from putting their roots under. It doesn't work. It was done, new sprinkler system in. That road is probably one of the worst roads and it's 15 years old and already had to be redone. It's just the placement of the soil. It's bad out there. So, but those type barriers and stuff, it's a good theory, but a lot of times, a lot of that stuff just does not work. So I'll shut up.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Medians. What is the plan for the median at Valley View and Marsh South? Going to the bridge,
Marsh.
right here, going to the bridge.
Marsh going south to
South,
635.
south on Marsh, yeah.
That one there, which part are you talking about? The right of ways or the medians?
Medians, I think, between those two sections of street.
We're
Medians,
talking on Marsh heading south on,
South on Marsh,
south of Valley View, heading Marsh, going to 635.
yes.
Which part of the medians are you referring to? Because they put a lot of grass in the medians.
There's a part that I think just has grass, like at Courtdale and, Bevan. I think it is Bevan, Jamlin.
Yes, ma'am.
There's just some dirt in one of the medians.
There was some areas. There's some areas that are there that we had some issues over the years to where the irrigation systems had been hit. And a lot of things had died because then that electric company hit a bunch of our lines under the street. So we had to go in and we had to rebore a bunch of the stuff and get it all back up and working. And it's bad when you have a company come out, which is subcontractor after subcontractor of a company, and sometimes you get what you get. Our irrigation was blowing out of the light poles because they plumbed in our pipe with their pipe, which was their conduit going into the pole. So it was getting geysers in their poles, but we hit theirs and we didn't do the boring. So we're steadily trying to put some grass in a bunch of those areas. There's a lot of areas, and I noticed this one yesterday when I was driving through, because some of this is supposed to have already been taken care of, but they have been coming down Valley View instead of making the turn they should have. A lot of this we're putting back is, some of it is grass. A lot of the real narrow medians that are there, it's like they cut the median down to make a turn lane, so it's only like a 2.5, 3-foot median. For now, it's gonna be grass, but theoretically, we have a policy at the city that went into effect back in the late 90s. Anything that's really below 6 foot, that's in a median, we're supposed to either concrete it, or pavestone it, something of that nature. The little narrow medians, some of these older ones, we can't do that too, because it has the main line to carry on down the road. Some of our medians have a main line that's 200 foot between medians. So we don't want to cover that up, and it's gonna cost us more to go down there, because we're gonna have to redo the wire, redo the main line, and put a sleeve in. And then cover it up with concrete and then brick. So it's easier just to put it as grass. There's really not a plant that we have been using, the fall aster, the purple flowers y'all been seeing on Valley View in those areas. It seems to be pretty good. Our guys still have to trim it. So crepe myrtles, they really don't have the dwarf crepe myrtle that they had back in the 90s and early 2000s. They do have a new one that's a Benelli crepe myrtle. They're real pretty, come in a few different colors, but their max growth is about 3 to 4 tall and about 3 to 4 feet wide. Well, that little median is only 3 feet wide, so it's continually overhanging in the street, and we don't want that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Would introducing multiple types of grass, multiple types of vegetation be more beneficial or less in terms of water?
Depending on where it is, like, as I was saying earlier with the St. Augustine and stuff, I would prefer to use, if it's in a shady kind of area that I'm gonna put grass and it's gonna be able to sustain itself without drowning out by the shade, I'm probably gonna go with zoysia. But open area, I'm gonna go with some type of Bermuda grass. And it's just a lot, it's my preference, and it does us very well. It's less chemicals, if somebody messes up on the chemicals, spraying it too strong, it's not gonna do as much damage, it recovers itself.
Like I meant, in like a given like area, like in one medium, like medium per medium, like with multiple types of grasses, like just on the same plot, like would that be more or less beneficial?
Or, are we referring to an actual lawn grass, or are we referring to a type of mountain grass or landscape grass? Like a pink muley or a variegated grass?
Like I'm just, well, I don't really know the types. I'm just thinking, for like better withstanding the elements, the extreme temperatures that we get. Would it be better to have more grass diversity so that they die less and like have fewer problems, or is it just not as beneficial as I imagine it could be? I'm just asking a general grass question.
In the mediums, I'll say this, again, I'll say I prefer Bermuda grass because it's less water. We have a grass that's on Marsh Lane, that's between Valley View and the bridge. It's called centipede grass. It almost looks like a variation between the St. Augustine and Bermuda grass, except it's not as wide of a blade grass, but it tends to recover pretty well. That was put in about the late nineties is when that street was kind of redone there. We rehabbed a bunch of things on it. It's held up pretty well, but it's not readily available for us to get when things happen. I don't like to have the whole city looking the same. I mean, this is where we run into an issue of, well, they got this over here on this side of town. This is how we wanted to do this. And we want to change up that so that this is different, so that we're not in the situation where we are right now, where we had hard winters and it decimated every bit of the jasmine through almost the whole town. So it doesn't affect our budget. Had to go in and it takes several years to get us back to where we need to be. So this side of town could have Asian jasmine. This side over here could have euonymus, or this side over here could have variety. And we're changing a lot of that stuff up so it doesn't, a hard summer, a hard winter doesn't just knock everything out. That kind of answer your question. So, yep.
Ray, you can bring him anytime.
Yeah. Everything I'm back.
You can get an encore performance at the park board tomorrow night.
Oh, yes. Thanks for,
Yeah.
are you coming with me to my board meeting?
Any questions for the Parks Department?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
All right, and if there's nothing further from our city representatives, we can move forward. Take that as a no.
No.
Little head nod, little head nod, let's get out of here, head nod, gotta go back and approve minutes.
Thank y'all. If you need anything, let us know, okay?
Thank
very much.
you.
Yes, thank you, Rick.
My girlfriend really enjoyed your.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope everybody's never a but. Starting when they close.
Oh, the fire department.
No.
Just tell me a part of it.
Yeah, no, I feel that. That was.
Yeah.
Police are so much.
Oh.
Never don't tell us it. We used to think we're the beach.
You know what? I have it as C1 and C3.
One and C3.
I know. All right, let us move forward with item C3, consider approving minutes from December 10th, 2025 meeting and take appropriate action. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes from December 10th? I do not, I was not here.
It was great. I mean, not that you weren't here.
It's fine. You can say that. It's fine. You can say that.
I moved to approve the minutes for,
It's as written. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, just move a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on. C4, receive staff updates on sustainability initiatives.
Right. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the 53rd meeting.
oh my gosh.
I was just curious, so I counted, because I was like, oh, maybe we're on a milestone. We're not, but at 53 sounds, it sounded like a lot. So quick thanks to Price. He participated at the chairperson city council strategic planning meeting yesterday. So he represented the committee well. I think brought up some of the ideas that we've talked about on composting, water conservation, to the council. So I think they were all in attendance there. So that's going to lead into the council's strategic planning. Where that's kind of when they start the budget work. So they kind of put that direction, and that should be next month. Later this month on Tuesday, January 27th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at City Hall is the State of the City event. I think staff, we're going to have a sustainability table there. So we'll provide some resources to the folks that are attending that event, and that's open to anyone who wants to come. I don't know if you guys have gotten a save the date yet for the boards and commissions banquet. But that's coming up Saturdays, February 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's going to be at the Branch Connection, this year.
Do we have the RSVP? Is there?
I think right now it's just to save the date. They should be sending an invitation that has a RSVP link. So if you haven't come to that in the past, it's a nice event the city puts on. You get a meal. You know, sit and talk to everyone that's in the committee.
Fancy thing that they do.
It's the 21st.
Yeah, the next month, boards and commissions banquet.
Oh. Did I get an invite?
Yes, you got to save the date.
Save the date.
So I think a more formal invite's coming up. And then I think it's pretty much it for me. Our next meeting is February 11th.
Fabuloso. And, again, we'll bring it up that it looks like, we did achieve our lead gold.
Yeah.
Huzzah, huzzah.
Yes.
So great work on that, everybody.
Yeah, we'll have a more formal announcement coming from the city later, but
Beautiful.
you guys
Love
know.
that.
We achieve what?
The lead gold designation.
gold.
So we'll get more into the weeds on that next meeting.
Moving on.
Go ahead.
Okay. Moving on to C4, or C5, I'm sorry, consider updating subcommittees of the Sustainability Committee and take appropriate action.
All right, so towards the end of last year, we had talked about what our current subcommittees, we have communications, water conservation, and built and natural environment. So we had discussed keeping built and natural environment and potentially eliminating communications and water conservation, and potentially adding one that's based on zero waste initiatives. That was kind of before a lot of this water rate stuff has come up, so might want to keep water conservation around for a little bit if Al and Price are willing to do that. It's ultimately up to you, your role as the committee. You can decide not to. It's really fine on
It's
that.
gonna determine me and Al screaming at the IT department now, it seems, so.
Yeah, there might be some, with the kind of the renewed focus, there might be some appetite for expanding the rebate programs to offer different things, whether that's a turf grass removal or, you know, it seems like it's a little bit more pressing than it maybe was when we were kind of having these discussions in October.
I seem to have missed something. What exactly did they say that's changed our thoughts on this?
Well, so they were talking about the water rate increase earlier, at the beginning of the meeting. So with the change in water rates that went into effect in November, you know, it's bringing more attention, you know, because a lot of people, their bills have gone up and different things like that. So
How much has the rate gone up?
I believe it was 15%.
Yeah.
It was the first rate increase in
15. If you
10 years,
use
yeah.
more than 10,000, it's pretty significant. So if
Yeah.
you use a whole lot, like tripled your bill.
Yeah, the
If you use
removal of
a
the
whole-
sewer cap.
Yeah,
I
everyone's
don't
complaining about this
understand how
bill.
people are using that.
It didn't affect me,
water.
but 15, 20.
My water bill is like, I think it's over $100.
I must have a quote or something. There must be
Not
something.
mine.
I mean.
It's not even like.
There. Well, as far as it goes with home usage, again, that's something where possibly Water Conservation Subcommittee can work. We talked about that last night about the city putting out a notice about the rebates. One of our city council people was not aware of the irrigation rebate, and she just did an inspection on hers and she didn't know about the rebate.
One of my neighbors did replace the toilet and he didn't know about it. I was just like, what?
Well, they have a window, right? Like they.
Yeah,
can-
there's a window for the
People don't
toilets.
pay
It's like-
attention, right?
That's
That's the
120
problem.
days.
I don't know that that.
You guys, I know you guys sent a notice
Yeah.
in the bills.
Yes, it went out in the January bill, we mentioned the rebates again, and then I believe it was one of the November e-news, it came out again.
Nobody listens.
So, yeah, I mean, there's only so
You
much,
can't overmarket.
yeah. But,
Well, I think that there's a discussion that could be had about not continuing to just only use the same marketing plan that has already been used for so long
Yeah.
and not successful because there's,
That doesn't seem effective.
yeah, the one that doesn't seem effective, just like keep it on that track.
One of the things, would be good is all these council members, they have their town hall. Elizabeth is gonna have our town hall first.
Yeah.
I don't know what time, but one of the things they can start telling the people, there are more people in their district. Roger, I mean, some of these council members should take responsibility because this is becoming a crisis in Dallas, finally. Water is becoming a crisis.
I think nationally it's becoming a crisis. I don't remember exactly when I read this, but I believe there was an article maybe 5 or something years ago saying that at the current rate, we're using the water at some central point, I think near where we have a lot of our farming happening. We're draining the water from that big water patch in the center of the US or somewhere in the center.
Ogallala Aquifer.
Probably it. We're draining it fast enough to where I think by 2050, we won't actually be able to draw from it anymore at a rate that'll sustain the population. So we have water problems everywhere.
Desalination. That's what's gonna happen.
Everything will become tropical and nobody's don't we?
I have an idea, what we were talking about tonight with our guest, about what you were saying about using the same marketing and it's really not getting out or making people move. You can get it out, but to get people to do something. And I think the city's hitting them every month or, so. I'm saying I think the city's doing their part, maybe not the right tool, I think. When we had we have the tree giveaway, everyone's there. We max out. When we do the garden, in the community garden, we do the event there, the composting, we have a good showing of that. So I had asked, can you I asked, the parks gentleman if we could if they could go out and do presentations also. So could we ask the water department to do that and to do it at the library on a Saturday when people have time? To go do a dog and pony show about the rebates and how much we're using, and let's look at 20, 30 years from now, and these are what the projects that we're doing. Because I think word would spread.
I think that's something we can definitely do.
But is that something
I
that you
mean,
think?
I know like
We
the
as-
library has different classes and
Right.
things they've done. So I mean, we would have the opportunity, we've talked about doing that with like the rebate programs too.
Yeah,
Trying to
I
get like a speaker from Atmos or Encore out there to help walk people through it and kind of have a workshop.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we all know the library, we all go to the
Yeah.
library, so that would be very central. Is that something that, like, if we have a water committee, that could be a project or?
I think so, and I think
communication?
if we have like, Price and Al have kind of mentioned, being willing to like test this out and everything. Like when the portal goes active, that could be something that we
Yeah.
could offer and have something, kind of a general overview. Here's 10 things you can do around your home. And then we're
Yeah.
gonna do a demo and they'll help you, walk you through logging into your portal.
That would be
You know,
me. I
doing
would need
something
the
like
help.
that.
I would want to go.
Okay.
Have we ever had, virtual presentations like that?
Oh, you could
I
do it.
don't know if we have done webinars. I haven't here. Previous job did a lot of those, started out very strong and then participation dropped quite a bit. Just over time. I think that was COVID partially to blame too. Everyone was tired of being on Zoom all day and then
Yeah, come home.
didn't wanna log into Zoom on a
But you
Saturday.
could give them the option, maybe.
A hybrid?
Or
Yeah,
something like that.
because the city would have the ability to do it.
Mhm.
Do it right before summer, in the semester.
We might just hit a different audience doing that.
Yeah.
And I guess if they can't ask questions online, but they can listen, maybe they want to show up in person to the next one. Or would we want to field questions virtually? Maybe. Anything for interaction, maybe, we do online.
So kind of going back to the subcommittees, built in natural environment, I think we discussed was good to stay. How are you guys feeling about communications? Is that something that we think we can just work ad hoc kind of?
I do.
Okay, so we'll probably have to remove that. And then water conservation,
For sure.
what do you guys think that to continue that one?
So, especially now, yeah, it's really permanent
Yeah.
and I think now that people are getting hit in the pocketbook, they're gonna listen a little more.
Yeah, gives maybe some more weight behind some of the
A lot
work
of
that we've
people-
been trying to do.
That's usually what happens. People you don't listen until they start seeing those bills, so.
And then, so we also talked about potentially forming a subcommittee focused on zero waste initiatives. I think that would kind of, compost can kind of be covered under that, or can become covered under the built natural environment. I think, Price and Al were kind of talking about switching from water conservation to zero waste, but if we stay with water conservation, is there still an appetite to do a subcommittee on zero waste?
Is there an appetite in the city government, like in the city? Branch, like,
I think you mean amongst us, right?
no, I understand what the question is. What I'm saying is that historically speaking, we've had more success when there's an appetite with the city council and or the city staff to promote something. So instead of us trying to push onto them something that we think is important, I'm saying, what is the temperature of that topic for, other than diverting waste from the landfill?
Right.
Which is always
Yeah, kind of.
And
We've
the
had,
general one. There's not,
yeah, and maybe on this one, we'll hold off. So Councilmember Villafranca, she came to our meeting and, talked about compost. That was brought up in the meeting that Price was at yesterday. And I think they're gonna have a more in-depth conversation about that and some of the service options at their strategic planning in February.
Mhm.
So if we want to, maybe we kind of see how that meeting progresses and what ideas that they have, and if they're, really strong on trying to do a program or offer that as a service again, whatever that looks like, maybe at that point in time, we.
And honestly, if there's any way that we can flex the city can flex any kind of administrative muscle on, as I talked about last night in the meeting about how we want businesses to come here. We want more dining options. We want more this type of option. And I said regarding that, something that if the city would be able to provide some sort of incentive to all these restaurants we want to come here to do composting instead of 100 pounds of wasted food going right into the dumpster. Is there any kind of incentive the city could give to have them implement a composting program through an industrial composting company like we use in my building? Where once a week or twice a week, however much they generate, their composting truck comes, they dump it in, they take it out to their composting site in West Texas, or the one for the lady who was here that was up in Anna or wherever, up in Northeast, where they would come and do it. If there was some sort of incentive from the city that would encourage the restaurants and large scale hospitals,
hotels.
hotels, that type of thing to implement it, because it's all well and good where
us as I call us do-gooder hippies will go ahead and put our 5 pounds of food waste in the composting every week, while a restaurant puts in 300 pounds of food waste every couple of days into the landfill. The larger scale stuff, incentivizing the larger scale to get on board, especially the new restaurants or any kind of existing restaurants, something to just put that to them somehow.
Or tether it to tax breaks that are already given that.
Something of that effect. Yeah, just something where if there's a way to incentivize it, where, because do the restaurants that are in our town, do they just go to Camelot or do they just go somewhere else?
It would depend on which hauler
Which
that
hauler
they
they
use,
use,
but
yeah.
no, and you brought that up yesterday. That got me thinking kind of about, we have a cluster of restaurants like at Mustang Station, and I haven't looked at their dumpsters. But like, if they have space there, is there a way that,
There's space.
like within, that all those restaurants could utilize
Right.
of food waste?
You just have to sacrifice a couple more parking spots.
Yeah, or something like that, and how the city could facilitate that. And then it would be, a group of, fair amount of restaurants in the city are clustered right there. They could utilize that in the same manner that they're taking out their trash. They would just have to separate it. Then that could be a big composting sustainability win.
Yeah, we have a cafeteria at our facility where they have a dedicated composting bin that's cleaned out. They put their food waste in it, they take it out, and then get it. We have the compostable bags, the green compostable bags. Everything goes in there. They just pull the bag, put it in the compost.
other one.
Take it.
Quick with it, but-
Speaking of composting, so, for the water committee, because we can't have more than 3 people,
Correct.
but we could do a subcommittee if there's like, the city wants us to work on a gray water thing, or they want us to work specifically on the heatless water tanks or whatever. So y'all could still focus on the app or the
Right.
main thing, and then we could always have like another sub committee
Yeah.
that's
We would just need-
specific to that.
Yeah, well, we just kind of would need direction from the city on what they want to do, because we can do all this stuff that's all well and good, and then we
Right.
present it and they say, So if we could get some direction on which direction they would like to go, we can work on it.
I got a direction.
Yeah.
Get that down direction.
What if we split it to be utilities versus residents and what they're doing after they get it? So gray water and composting is on one side and supply side is the other. So that'd be water, energy, whatever. Do you think that is a better way to split it up because we can only have 3 people? Like gray water and
We can
composting.
talk about it when it like presents itself.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, just to keep in the back pocket until we figure out what they want to do.
Yeah.
So
Writing.
again, we can make all our suggestions that we want to make, and we do, but whether there's the money behind it for the program, the water rebates, they like that, and some of the other stuff that we bring up, they don't, so.
So for Built in Natural Environment, it's right now Val and Lauren, right? Or someone else? Okay. Lauren will term off in June, so that one
Yes.
that'll present another opportunity. Right now, water
June?
conservation, it's Al
think so.
and Price. Is anyone
Wait,
else on that one?
She says she's terming out too in
Are you
June.
terming out? Oh,
I don't know.
Oh,
Am I?
I don't think so. I think Lauren's the only one, but I'll check with them.
All right.
after, when I can
You
pull it
need to
up.
check.
Like you're done,
You're out.
your second
Feel like that's what it said.
for a year. So we'll have to replace 2. If she,
I'll find out
Okay.
after this.
sure, that's a lot of pressure, sorry.
Okay, so right now, 4 people are involved in subcommittees. Obviously, it's not required. You don't have to be on the subcommittee if you don't want to. And each one has an opportunity for one other person to be on.
If it turned out, then I'll jump on the water one.
Okay,
I'm not getting their dogs to win.
we'll talk about turns
We'll talk about terms, yeah,
I guess throw me in that one then.
on water.
Yeah,
Okay,
because I'd rather split a different way, but that's fine. I'd rather be in water, so.
What was your idea?
So we have utility side on, water coming into people's homes. Okay, And then, things that are being thrown away is like the waste side. So that would be like gray water, composting, trash pickup, lawn debris, like clump that together. Because it's one thing to say like, well, we're wasting a bunch of water that's coming into the house, but it's like, once it comes into the house, what do we do? The food comes into the house, when the food comes to the house, where does it go? We split it like that way. So it's like an infrastructure side and then like a what residents can actually do side.
I think it's a
Fair.
pretty good idea.
Yeah, sure. Sounds fair.
And make it vague enough.
So
as
we can just
vague.
go any
Yeah,
direction.
you can go, yeah, but it's just to split that way, right?
I like it.
Whichever one needs a person on that, I'll jump on that.
We're gonna call that water conservation supply.
What happens before it gets to the house and then what, or the business, and then what happens once it gets there, where does it go from there? Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
just need a better
our
word.
City resident or supply and demand, I don't know.
Up to, I mean, up, cause we would also, the supply side would also work on inside the house, like the water rebates and all that type of stuff too, and then, but once it gets flushed, or it goes down the drain, then it falls under the other one.
Right. Or once the water comes in and you have, like, I'm not suggesting
Oh my
it's
gosh,
necessarily
getting
like a
confusing.
bucket in your shower and you pour the bucket in your plant or whatever. I'm not suggesting that we do this specifically, but some way to divide the two because we can only have 3 people on a committee.
Right, once it's,
Is there anyone else that really wants to work on water? Because right now we have 3, so we're good. Does anyone else have a strong
I think
desire?
that we need to wait a little bit and
Until we
see
find out
what this,
So we'll just,
how this is gonna
we'll
shake
start with
out.
you guys, you 3 on that.
Yeah.
Not just- And then if we need to, I like the idea, if we have more people want to get involved, we can,
I mean, we can,
and we can update this
yeah,
anytime,
anytime.
so.
There's no, we don't have to, if we decide to like built natural environment, it's not pressing, because they really want to get going on the composting thing, then we can like switch out.
Yeah, or if we get direction and. it's like,
right, if
oh,
there is direction from the council of, oh, all right, well, we wanna move on this composting thing, cause, you know, now a majority of the board says that our council says that we wanna go hard on composting, then we can say, great, we've got a lot of ideas already.
Sure.
We call the committee composting and gray water.
That's
Just right, I put the word in there, yeah.
So,
That one makes.
Okay, so on this then, we'll just need a motion to take the subcommittees to the following: built in natural environment and water conservation.
I motion for that. Do I have to say it all
No,
again?
no.
Okay.
I think we're good.
any seconds on that one?
I second.
All right, that's where I am, man. All right.
I know, you're.
All in favor of these 2
We're
subcommittees?
voting on something I didn't document it.
Like,
Aye.
Any opposed to these subcommittees? That's motion passed.
perfect, all right, so we will move forward with that.
All right, C6. Guessing this is gonna be short, receive subcommittee updates.
Nothing to report.
Nothing from water.
Nothing.
The final report is nothing to report.
Wait, so are we dissolving communication?
Yep,
Yes. But that's
we're
what
doing
I-
it as an ad hoc.
Yeah,
On to C7, receive an update from committee members on activities attended. Last night I did go to the, was it the planning commission? Was it
it was the board chair council kind of quarterly meeting,
the quarterly?
or not quarterly, what is it, every 6 months?
Yeah,
Yeah,
how's that? I don't know.
Biannually.
Is that biannually? Okay. I never know. I don't know if that's twice a year, or every other year. I never remember.
Just like bi-weekly.
Whatever, twice a year meeting. And gave basically my hobby horse spiel on the things that I wanted to concentrate on as the chair. We talked about composting and waste reduction. Talked a lot about the water, especially with the rate increase, how our ideas for water conservation and using the technology available to us has come to the forefront, especially now people getting hit in the pocketbook. And the other one was, what else did I talk about, Alex? You talked about
you
something.
talk about, grow zones.
Oh, yeah,
Creek
yeah,
Ridge
my,
Park and Creek Ridge Park.
more increasingly grow zones, and once again, I pounded my table for Creek Ridge Park, because I brought up the the Alpha Link Fire Station Grow Zone, which is just absolutely gorgeous in the spring. No mow area, people come out, take pictures, people love it. Why can't we have that in more places? So let's look at that, is what I brought up. Especially Creek Ridge Park, because nobody can use it because no one wants to die walking in the park.
Did you say die?
I did say, I said dangerous, I didn't say die, but I said it's really dangerous. Creek
I
Ridge
think we're
Park,
allowed to say that, yeah.
that's one we talk about all the time, just the Valley, Web Chapel, just south of Valley View. It's the one on the west side by,
There's no.
just by Randy and, Levita and all that. There's no crosswalk, there's no sidewalk to get there, but they still mow it. And it's right along the Farmers Branch Farmers Branch right there. And it has a real steep drop off, and erosion is a big problem, but it's all grass. So I suggested putting in native grass with deep roots and also creating a grow zone there. Because so that way you can save money on mowing, save money on maintenance, and not have to worry about, if no one's gonna go there, at least it's not just black reading. So that's what I did. And
You made your case.
I made my case.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, what?
Okay, come on.
Okay. With this whole water thing, has anyone thought about maybe kicking off a campaign about like reducing watering lawns just as a baseline policy? Like, is anyone
Yeah.
kicking that around?
Have you tried that?
If you told the residents of Farmers Branch.
Yeah.
That you are not, if they put watering restrictions on,
They won't, we don't have.
Every
Like, not as a
council member
mandate,
loses
but as
election.
like an incentive.
Well, they just doubled the price.
That's the.
Those
old-
people got charged $400 for water because they put 7,000 extra gallon, or I guess 40,000, how much did they say? It was like, some people were 75,000 gallons and they got like a $500,000 bill. Like
So,
500 plus
the
bucks
the
bill.
incentive is the higher cost
Yeah.
and
That's, no council member is going to ever tell residents on any restriction.
right. Not
They're
here,
not gonna do it.
not here. Some cities in some bigger cities, yeah,
They're bigger cities, they have.
they're
got a
big
lot of
voices for that kind of thing, but
But
Yeah.
we do, when we do the like outreach stuff, we do talk about that, like when we do the tabling events with some of the committee members, we do talk about that, so I think with the economics now,
right,
that's gonna.
Drive
some
the
behavior
change.
that's gonna be the
And
drive.
then hopefully we can use the resources that we already have on our webpage and other things to promote. Hey, here's what you should kind of look at. You don't need to water every day, especially in the winter when your grass is dormant. So hopefully we can combine
Oh,
that.
yes.
It's
So you want-
trees on
yeah.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just think about how much water we're wasting on like just lawns in general when like, I don't know, 100 years ago at least, we couldn't do it in the first place and we had enough water for people to like drink. So I'm just like.
You missed Ray. Ray
Yeah,
got,
Ray.
An earful.
yeah, he heard almost as much as code enforcement.
Who's Ray? Which one is Ray?
Ray was the,
The first guy in the tan suit jacket.
Next to you.
Big question.
Yeah, I think he was.
you might have missed.
It's recorded though, so if you want to go back tomorrow, you can catch that
Yeah,
part.
but as far as that goes, the incentive is gonna have to be economic. People have gotta feel in their pocketbooks, and the more expensive a utility is, the less people will use it. Our electric rates are going way up. Hopefully that's incentivizing people to use less electricity, not keep their lights on all night long.
Hey, this is, I'm mostly out of touch with what people do.
But, there's still people using incandescent light bulbs, and they're seeing they're seeing their electric bills go through the roof, and they're saying, oh, well, maybe these LEDs are the way to go. Yes, they are. So, but yeah, around, especially here in this state and around this town, and especially the farther out collar counties, the main thing that people are gonna respond to is how it's affecting their pocketbook.
Their monthly budget,
That's right. And
monthly
that's,
budget.
and you can have us, put on our poison ivy outfits and walk around and say, gotta conserve and all these other things, and yeah, poison ivy, remember Batman?
No.
Anyway, she's Well, I'll get into it later. But anyway, look,
Okay.
What does anyone else do?
Yeah.
well, I got a whole backstory for that, I'll tell you after.
I don't understand, like,
but-
this is something I missed.
We have
Missed a
to,
memo.
You can get a costume.
we can tell people all these great things they can do to conserve and to make our resources last longer. But I would say, I'm not kidding when I say that 90% of the people won't do it unless it hits them economically. So,
So now we have that element in play.
and now we have that element in
That's gonna
play.
be a
Now,
great
they'll
opportunity for us.
Good momentum. I'm just wondering exactly what we can recommend with this momentum.
We can recommend what we're saying with the irrigation checkups, with the leak checkups, as soon as the technology is integrated for the software into the meters, smart meters, having people are on their phones all day anyway, so they're gonna check, they can just do it like they're Duolingo, like I said last night in the meeting. Okay, there's like, oops, time to check my water meter. Next thing you know, you don't know that you popped a valve or something in your irrigation just the night before and all of a sudden your meter's spinning. So that's the kind of thing they can check. And when your water bill goes up over $100 a month because of the new rates, you're gonna be a little more cognizant of that.
Yeah, I missed a bit of that coming in a little late.
Maria said that she would come back to us and give us a report on what data can be retrieved in bulk.
Right.
By the city side. So hopefully, once we have that information, we know a better direction to go with that.
I mean,
For using a certain amount of under, like if you're under this amount of gallons a month, we'll credit your account $50. That's what we should be
Something
doing.
that,
Well, they said 7,500 gallons is the average, so
That's what I'm
there should be
saying,
there should be a point under 7,500.
where you're like
Right.
rewarded for not using all the water, and then Lisa would be getting a $50 credit every month.
I mean, in a way, there's a little bit of a reward with the tiered rate structure.
Yeah,
So it's-
there should be more tiers,
But yeah,
perhaps.
I like that.
so,
They really wanna, or just like a lottery system, we'll select 100 residents every month that use under this amount, we'll give you whatever off your bill. And then that way, people would just, like, you don't know if you get it or not, and then it would be like a set fixed amount, the city is only gonna spend $10,000 on this in a year.
A pack of paper bags for your lawn clippings.
Only we get the paper bags back, that's a bill that nobody can use, everybody would die, because it's never happened.
moving on from there, has anyone else attended any events over the last month?
What it was.
An event kind of happened to me. I was up in a little off, I guess, TI, Greenville, those streets, that area, a little east of us. And I was at a Walmart, and apparently they are trialing this drone delivery system. So like, I don't know if this is their specific intent, but the effect is gonna be to electrify some of their last mile delivery items. So that was just an unaccepted thing. I was like, what is that thing? So I asked one of the guys in the back and they were just like, oh yeah, we're doing a thing with zip lines, this drone company.
Yeah, Amazon said they're doing it within a radius
Mm-hmm.
over there.
Apparently Walmart's in it too.
Moving on.
Well, that's gonna be something that will, again, we'll see how many of those stay in the air and how many get shot down.
Well, you know, in Ukraine, they just clip them.
All right, we get kicked out of the room at 8.
Okay.
Okay, so
Take a minute.
September 25th, Brookhaven's having a sustainability summit. So just a heads up for future agenda items. And there will be tabling opportunities if we decide we want to go that direction.
September 25th?
I
No.
believe, at the last Friday of September, I think that's the
Oh,
25th.
I was, at first I was like, that's way far. He's not.
It is way far, but
You are actually talking about. far.
yes,
Okay.
at Brookhaven. December was at Cedar Valley and then November was Eastfield, so. El Centro is the next one in April, if anybody's interested. But it's not Farmers Branch, so
Is that gonna be in the green house?
it will be a feature.
Anybody else, have anything? Oh, wait, I'm fogging up Suzette's, voice memo. Sorry.
It's out of here.
All right, nothing else, discuss agenda items, future sustainability committee meetings. Ted just brought up his sustainability, his
A possible tabling event?
possible tabling events for DCCC. Any other possible agenda items for future meetings?
I just signed up for this thing called Ridwell. And it has like for your plastics that are hard to do, so it's got like the newspaper bag and the chip bag and the shrink wrap and packing things and prescription and vitamin bottles. You know, things that are, well, a lot of the things that they say they recycle, they don't.
That's true.
That's not really going to the recycling. But this company seems to be a little bit more aggressive.
Are they
And
local?
how does it work?
Yeah,
It's
where,
like a subscription service. You
where do
just,
plastic pieces go?
well, this is their transparency chain, so you
Amazing.
can see where collect your plastic and see where it goes. And they send you these bags and you fill it up and it's got a prepaid stick and you just put it in the mail.
And how much is this?
I don't know. I think I just did the one box to try it.
Okay.
And then you can sign up. Yeah, it's called Ridwell, but I'm gonna start using it, and I can report back.
Yes, that'd be great, because honestly, something to that effect would be really nice for the non-recyclable things, where if it's possible to send it out and
Mhm.
take care of it responsibly, that'd be great.
So we'll see.
That can be on the waste side,
Let me check.
on the waste subcommittee. Anybody else?
Clean Tech newsletter coming soon. I just been busy again this month.
The what, I'm sorry, newsletter?
Clean Tech
Oh, Clean Tech,
newsletter that I'm at some point going to compile into a document.
Okay, good deal. All right, anybody else with anything?
Thank you.
Fabulous. All right, we will adjourn at 7:57 PM. Good.
Thank you.
Anyway, Poison Ivy started out as a villain where she
Uma
would.
Thurman.
Wait, who's second?
That was not the first one.
That was late.
Oh, no, that was the movie. I'm not a
Yes, I second.
comic book
Yes.
person. I know who she is. I just didn't understand the reference you were making.
However, later on,
Yes, yes. I agree.
he became less of a
Oh, I'm sorry. I got that.
and moved more into, some would call it eco. But what she did was, especially during the
Visit your mom.
the no man's land part, story arc, where the earthquake cut Gotham off,
Yeah.
he took over the Central Park area.
You lost me.
Oh, yeah, taking the time off.
You asked.
No, actually, I didn't. But I don't
Where she took over Central Park and she served as the guardian of the park, and also as the guardian of the orphaned and lost children of God.
Is this a cartoon or comic?
Which means,
Why don't?
let's.
I watched, oh, cartoons I can't.
Her age.
Right, it's on the video games.
Yeah, I still have that, so I'll put that together. I'm sure I'm gonna schedule a meeting with Maria.
Right.
Just go through all.
That would be horrible.
Right.
Yeah. Good idea.
Why would you do that? I'm getting people to talk to me.
Make good turn this off.
All right,
Her
man.
age.
I'm sorry, I gotta run.
No, you're good.
You mind me taking
It's
some
not
pictures?
yours.
Yeah,
My coworkers.
Take